tragic deaths of Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet is a tragic story between two star-crossed lovers. Romeo is from the Montague side, who you can see over here, and Juliet is from the Capulet side over here. Actually, I feel kind of bad. Unpause. Anyways, Romeo is your typical lover boy. He cries over every single pretty person he sees. And Juliet is a little pretty princess locked up away in her tower. You would think it's a match made in heaven, right? But unfortunately for those two, it was not. Because as you can see, these two families deeply hate each other. But that didn't stop Romeo and Juliet from falling in love at first sight at a party, which many young people do. But Romeo and Juliet took it a few steps too far by getting married by their local priest, Friar Lawrence. This is really, really bad because these two families hate each other really, really bad. Every day in the town, they would have public brawls and arguments and would be a general disservice to the public and a national embarrassment. This meant the local prince banned them from ever fighting again under the punishment of death. But that did not stop these families. Romeo even killed Juliet's cousin Tybalt in an act of violence. This meant Romeo was banished, not killed, though because it was an act of self-defense. This split up the two lovers, Romeo and Juliet, forever. Sad, right? This meant Juliet needed to find a new husband, who her family told her to marry some random rich guy named Paris. Juliet hated Paris. She'd rather die than marry him, ever. She took this so far as to find this special potion that would make it seem like she had died, when in reality she was just in a deep, deep slumber. This tricked everyone around her and made them think that Juliet was dead. But this plan backfired because Romeo snuck back into town and found the dead Juliet. This, of course, made Romeo so sad. And he thought the only way to make himself feel better was by reuniting with Juliet in the afterlife, which is to say, he killed himself with poison. Lame, right? Then, at last, Sleeping Beauty Juliet would wake up and find dead Romeo. And she, of course, would have the same thought as he did, which is that she needs to kill herself too. So she took a dagger and stabbed herself through the heart. You know, as any normal person would. Then, eventually, these two families found their dead bodies. And of course, already hating each other, they were deeply upset and instantly blamed each other. But, under fear of punishment from the prince, they decided to take it to court, which is the situation you see here today. Unmute.
Order! Order! Order in the court! Now please, Montagues, present your opening case.
My name is Laura Lona, and I will be representing the Montagues in the Montagues versus Capulets case. We are here today to hold the Capulets responsible for Sir Romeo Montague's unfortunate demise. The death took place year 1303 at 1:23 a.m. on the night of July 18th. The cause of the death was a fatal poison from the Winsterior fernsong flower bud.
Okay, Capulets, please present your opening statement. Today, Capulets!
My name is Lawyer Lonnie. I am here today as the Capulet representative in the Capulets versus Montagues case. Miss Juliet Capulet died at 1:31 a.m. by suicide just moments after Sir Romeo's blood ran cold. What the Montague lawyer failed to mention was the fact that Sir Romeo himself clearly begun this whole ordeal. Our Juliet was a kind, beautiful flower.
Yeah, she was a flower and you guys ruined it.
By the way,
I need a break. We need to go to recess.
And now a word from our awesome sponsors.
Yo, kid, you want some of my special juices?
Okay.
Come down to Jaguar Lane for our special juices, 50% off.
Call 1800 Poison 50FF only in 3 easy payments. Warning, side effects may include vomiting, diarrhea, trouble breathing, longer sleeping, cancer, loss of sight, loss of taste, loss of smell, and loss of life.
Okay, now that we are back from recess. We will begin with the witness statements. Montagues, please begin first.
Benvolio, this will be my witness statement. Romeo is hard-headed and stubborn, was not at fault for any of the events leading to his or Juliet's death. I can confirm that during the little quarrel that occurred in Verona, it was not us who attacked, but the Capulet boy Tybalt. See, we were lazing the day away, Mercutio, Romeo, and I, as friends do. Then this man, who we later recognized as Tybalt, sauntered up towards us, sword in hand, and declares against my good man Romeo. He said, and I quote, "He shall not excuse the injuries that thou hast done me, therefore turn and draw." And then Mercutio, in a fit of rage, battled against this man, and with his corpse on the ground as being struck by the sword of ferocious Tybalt, it was then that Romeo unsheathed that sword of his. It was not his fault, it was a self-defense, justice for our late Mercutio. I'll say that if anyone just had a good head on their shoulders, especially that temperate Tybalt, then none of this would have ever happened. The exile was the thing that started this in the first place, right? No exile, no debts. Blame the Capulets for all I care, but it was no way Romeo's fault.
It was a match for the Montagues. They're controlling you. They're on
Capulets, please.
Please, wait till your turn before I have you removed from my courthouse.
You hear that? Fine, moved.
Now, Capulets, you may begin with your witness statements.
I am the nurse, the guardian angel of my little flower Juliet. I am here to say that in no way was it our family's fault of these two deaths. Romeo caused anarchy and distrust within our family from the very start. Not only did he kill Tybalt in an act of violence, no matter what the cause is, that is the death of one of our family members. An outright act of violence against us. And even before that, Romeo repeatedly caused violence and anger within our family. At a simple party, we were planning to enjoy ourselves and have a good day. Romeo crashed our party uninvited and came on to our poor little susceptible Juliet. In fact, he even said to Juliet, "My lips, two blushing pilgrims, ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss." This is clearly manipulation of our family, and without Romeo constantly intervening within our business and provoking us and hurting our emotions, none of this would have happened. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, Montagues, state your argument.
The Capulets are undeniably at fault in this matter, and the core reason lies in their complete failure to recognize and respect the desires of their daughter, Miss Juliet Capulet. She made it abundantly clear that she had no intention of marrying Sir Paris. In her own words, "I will not marry yet, and when I do, I swear it shall be Romeo, whom you know I hate rather than Paris." These words are news indeed. This declaration leaves no room for doubt. Juliet was firmly opposed to the idea of marriage. At the time, she was concealing her true feelings, pretending to despise Romeo as intensely as the Capulets despised the Montagues. Despite the facade, she still claimed she would rather marry her family's greatest enemy than be forced to wed Paris. That statement alone speaks volumes. Even under the weight of false hatred, Juliet chose Romeo over Paris, the man she was supposed to marry. This was not a mild protest. This was a powerful rejection. Yet, when she voiced this to Lord and Lady Capulet, they ignored her entirely. Instead of listening, they imposed their will with harshness and threats, showing no concern for her emotional state. There is absolutely no credible argument that can dispute Juliet's stance. She was coerced, silenced, and packed into a corner. The blind insistence on the marriage, despite Juliet's desperate objectives, ultimately drove her to take drastic action. The drastic action being her drinking a certain liquid that made it seem like she had died. This created a domino effect, which ultimately led to Romeo Montague passing away. The evidence is undeniable. If the Capulets had simply listened to their daughter, Sir Romeo would still be here today. The Capulets' refusal to hear their daughter's voice, their failure to offer her freedom of choice, and their cruel persistence in forcing this marriage make them unquestionably responsible for Sir Romeo Montague's death. Thank you.
Capulets, please state your argument.
The Capulets and I believe that Sir Romeo Montague began this entire tragic situation. He, after all, fell in love with Juliet first. This man kissed her at the ball, and not even a couple hours later, he returned to Capulet residence, saying, "Can I go forward when my heart is here? Turn back, dull earth, and find thy center out." By saying this, Romeo means that he wishes for his mind and body to find happiness in Juliet's soul. This man decided that returning to the girl's house and voicing his infatuation their orchard, was the best thing that he could possibly do. Sir Romeo desperately wanted Juliet Capulet, and he took these matters into his own hands.
Okay, I think I've heard enough for now. I need to go to another break.
And now a word from our awesome sponsors.
This dagger is great for cutting up vegetables and meat to make meals for your family and your kids. Into the stew these go!
Daggers are on sale, 50% off from May 21st to June 30th previously, to $100 now only, $100.
Now that we've made it back from, yet again, another needed break, please let us continue with the rebuttals.
While my opponents may argue that Romeo was to blame for Juliet's tragic end because he initiated their love, Juliet's own words prove that she too actively embraced and reciprocated that love. In her soliloquy, she declares, "O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name, or if thou wilt not, be but my sworn love, and I no longer be a Capulet." This plea shows that Juliet is not a passive participant in their romance. She's fully willing to abandon her family for her family name and everything that defines her status just to be with Romeo. Therefore, the blame of this tragedy does not solely fall on Romeo's shoulders, as my opponents might claim. Juliet has an equal part in this relationship, therefore negating the claim that Romeo's initiation was the cause of Juliet's death. Thank you.
Capulets.
Before her untimely demise, Miss Juliet Capulet lay deceased within the Capulet family tomb beside Tybalt, Juliet's cousin whom Romeo slaughtered. Now, Your Honor, I'm sure you're wondering why this 13-year-old girl is feigning death and laying next to her dear cousin's decomposing body. She was waiting for her husband to take her away to Mantua. Husband, Your Honor, husband. Now, I thought Juliet was to be married to Paris. No! Romeo got to her first. Sir Romeo was so infatuated by Juliet that when she said to him, "Prove your love to me," he deduced that marriage was the best method for doing so. He went to the friar and requested that he and 13-year-old Juliet would be married, quite literally saying, "I'll tell thee as we pass, but this I pray, that thou consent to marry us today." Had Romeo never begun the relationship, let alone marry Juliet, she wouldn't have an issue getting married to another grown man.
Okay, I think I've heard enough. You guys may state your closing statements now.
Judge, after this entire ordeal, I think it's safe to say that the Capulets are clearly at fault for Sir Romeo's death. Time and time again, they proved that they lack the ability to listen to their child. The unfortunate death of Romeo could have been easily evaded if the Capulets simply stopped pushing the wedding, which led to Juliet faking her death, which led to Romeo dying. This ultimately proves that justice should be served, and the Capulets, who are at fault, should clearly be held accountable for their actions. Thank you.
Capulets, your closing statement.
Your Honor, after bearing witness to both of our arguments, it must be understood that Miss Juliet Capulet was truthfully not at fault. Yes, she may have loved Romeo, but this girl was head over heels for a man who expressed his obsession, not love. A child fooled into true love. A child manipulated into death under a man's lie of true love. Romeo was responsible for both his and Juliet's deaths. and his kin should be held responsible for the Montague heirs' ultimately fatal decisions.
Okay, with all the information that has been presented to me, I would like to state the verdict. The verdict is...
Pause. You're just gonna have to wait for the next one. But between you and me, the real villain is Shakespeare.
There's no X. What?
Damn it, Oscar!
Slip on my foot.
Boo.
The Capulets are bad parents. I don't think you should.
Bling bling, you forgot your bling bling.
Yes!
Bring on slow-mo.
Why are you on here? Why are you here?
Yeah, I'm confused now.
Romeo is from the Montague. Which has the Montague?
Oh my god!